Ready?
Are you ready?
I am, yeah.
Okay, well, welcome, Raegen, to your creative project defense. For everyone who's joining us, I'll give you a quick overview of how this is going to go. Raegen will begin with a little presentation of the project. Then we'll open it up to questions, first from Raegen's committee. So Josh and Tom will have an opportunity to ask questions. I probably won't ask many questions because I'm the chair of the committee, so I've been doing a lot of questioning, right, over the last year or so working on this project. So my questions have pretty much been answered at this point. And then we'll also open it up to the crowd. So if anyone in the crowd has questions, you guys are all welcome to ask them. Kevin always jokes that he invited his wife to his dissertation defense, and she asked the hardest question of anybody in the room. Like, whose side are you on? So yes, you're all welcome to ask questions. And then once all of our questions have been answered and we're all finished, we'll ask everyone, including Raegen, to leave the room. The committee will have an opportunity to discuss, and then we'll bring back in for a final decision. Any questions?
I don't think so.
Take it away.
All right. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate it. And a special thank you to my committee and all the help you've given me throughout this process. So welcome, everyone. This is my project, the Wellness Hub. It's a positive companion for college students' academic success. So as most of you, some of you know, this is a creative project through the EMDD program. So it's kind of like my capstone of everything I've learned. So I kind of wanted to combine the three main tenets of EMDD, at least like what I believe are like the most three things that I like, which is creativity, innovation through technology, and just problem solving overall. So I started out with doing some ethnographic observations. I didn't really have anything in my mind, so I just kind of carried that question with me for a couple of weeks of like, what is a problem around me that I would be interested in potentially contributing to the solution of? So I noticed on finals week, actually, and I'm sure this will relate to all the students in the room, everyone kind of during finals week doesn't really communicate. We more like commiserate with each other. This is just anecdotal evidence, but you know, you ask someone how they're doing, they say, awful, how are you? And you're like, well, it's kind of nice to know we're both doing awful instead of actually working to be better. So then I sat down to do some research, and I did first a review of extant literature, and then as well as some primary research to see if this problem is actually real or just in my head, but I'm sure, as we all know, it's very real. So I first did my research, then I found a solution. And the solution is based on the theory of positive psychology and then virtual reality. And I'll get into more of both of those later. First, we'll dive into the literature review. The problem space. So for my problem space, over 1/3 of college students currently are experiencing anxiety or depression. If you look down at these two charts right here, you can see it's about 6% severe, 10 to 11% moderate, and then 15 to 16% any. So that's still over 1/3 of college students that are experiencing either of these main challenges for their mental wellness right now. Also, stress, anxiety have been identified as top hurdles to academic performance from a 2018 study. And then also, these figures came from the Healthy Mind Survey, which is a huge survey I'll talk about a lot in this. It's from Michigan State. They survey over 90,000 college students each year to find the results for the survey. So from that survey as well, 65% of college students reported needing mental help in the last 12 months, yet only 36% of students of that group actually sought help. So the reasons why were there's financial barriers, people, are a little embarrassed about the topic still, no matter how far we've come, it's still a little stigma around it. There are financial restraints, and then also people prefer to handle things on their own, in their own time, their own way, with their own resources. As I've kind of touched on, mental health struggles are one of the leading causes of poor academic solutions. The problem is actually very cyclical. So basically, poor mental health leads to poor academic performance. Some statistics to prove that are 75% of students who report poor academic performance experience lower self-esteem, which strongly correlates with increased depressive symptoms. This kind of ties into what I'll talk about later, the whole idea of negative self-fulfilling prophecies. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of those, but it's basically like, say someone tells you every day, like, you suck, you're the worst. Eventually that's going to come in your head and you're going to start to believe it about yourself. And then you'll even stop trying as hard as you once was because your self-esteem has been lowered by things people are saying around you, things you're saying to yourself. So again, that could lead to poor academic performance, worsening your mental health. So then I started my literature review after understanding the problem space. It was very true. Obviously, the The two are causing some serious stress and problems for the students around me. So in the literature review, it's been proven that embedding virtual reality programs inside college students' curriculums actually reduces that stigma, increases participation, and can even build community. Imagine if freshman year of college, everyone was participating in one mental wellness, mental health, positivity, whatever solution together as a group or a cohort, and then maybe revisiting that throughout the years, because also it was shown that mental health worsens from freshman year to senior year for college students. So college isn't making it better, that's for sure. So one potential solution that was actually the one used in this study to kind of reduce that stigma and as a way to help support college students is called positive psychology. This is a theory by Martin Seligman. It's different than clinical psychology. It's not clinical at all. It doesn't really pay attention to pathology or clinical issues, which are very important, but not exactly what this solution is meant to address. So Martin Seligman says that positive psychology is basically just focusing on the positive. What are my strengths? How can I build upon those strengths and apply them to other areas of my life to further flourish? So that goes into another theory called broaden-and-build. Basically, build up those around you, build up yourselves, and it'll broaden what you can experience. There was a quote I read when I was doing my research that I really loved. It was, students are only capable of the opportunities that they can imagine. So for instance, if you just think like, well, I'm not really going to do anything with my life, it's really hard to imagine that you are going to be that person who does something amazing with your life. So, building up each other, building up yourself, very important. So some statistics. In a systematic review of 27 relevant studies from 1998 all the way to 2021, 85% of the studies reported that positive psychology led to increased life satisfaction and happiness when implemented in university courses for college students. Those are both from the same study. So there are benefits for both clinical and non-clinical patients. However, even though this is not a clinical solution, it's been shown to provide benefits for people who have been diagnosed with clinical mental illnesses such as anxiety or depression. I'm thirsty. So after understanding the problem space better, I wanted to look into some solutions. And from my review of the extant literature, I was seeing a lot of the best solutions are digital. And then also wanting to, combine that with the innovative technology in the EMDD program, I knew I wanted to do something digital. So I'll start with the statistic down here. A 2018 study found that 7.3% of college students had used a mental health application, that's that MHA. In a 2022 study, however, that number had jumped to 53% of students in college had used a mental health application. So just in 4 years, huge increase in students who are interested and using these applications. So that shows that there is that engagement. And then digital tools specifically offer benefits like interactivity, personalization. Now with like AI and data and everything, it can learn more about you to improve the app itself. And a reduced strain on university mental health resources, which currently there's wait times from anywhere up to 3 weeks at universities. And that's been a problem that's been happening since COVID that they're slowly trying to work down. Also, digital mental health solutions have shown that there are no adverse effects on mental wellness from increased device use specifically for college-age students, which I thought was important to know. So then the benefits of virtual reality, 62% of VR solutions improved learning outcomes in college students, 31% showed no difference, and only 7% reported negative effects. So really it's showing that the majority of the times it will be a positive benefit for learning outcomes specifically. And then VR has been shown to even recreate really impressive benefits from the real world, such as nature. So young adults participating in VR nature walks actually improve their memory and executive function just by a fake walk outside. So I thought that was really cool. And then VR exposure increased heart rate variability and lowered heart rates, enhancing parasympathetic activity and neural regulation. So activities such as meditation or just breathing exercises in VR are as beneficial in the real world as they are digitally. Then gamification. In a systemic study, again, 12 out of the 19 studies highlighted benefits from features like points and feedbacks for college students specifically, so that's the majority there. And then it also boosts interaction in online learning, so more engagement, more participating with the actual website. And then again, for this specific study, a review of all 15 studies, all 15 showed there is huge efficacy for gamification in VR, and specifically managing anxiety and depression. That's not exactly what I'm going for here, but it still relates. Then these are specifically the features that I wanted to include in my game. This will have come from not only the extant literature I reviewed, also the state of VR, and then the affinity mapping and card sorting that I did that I'll get into a little bit later. So mindfulness enhances focus, reduces stress and anxiety, and improves resilience and emotional regulation. All things really important to college students. These are all statistics specifically for college students as well. Strategies like to-do lists, tracking projects, reduce stress and anxiety, and then they even enable you to have more time to do self-care activities, and social activities. So taking that time to plan out your own stuff makes you able to do more on your own time, so you have more free time. Then thought reframing, it was highly effective for higher education students. This was specifically medical students. 100% of 95 medical students reported improved stress management and coping through digital thought reframing activities. And increases gratitude, decreases depressive episodes. Goal tracking is a goal-oriented approach to time management. Specifically in this case, increases study time by 20%, improving academic outcomes. Like we talked about, that cyclical problem, the more you improve academic outcomes, the more your mental wellness will improve, hopefully. And then it also boosts self-efficacy. So here's my primary research that I completed. We're getting into that now. The first thing I did was affinity mapping. I did this with 3 different groups around Ball State: general college students who self-identified playing video games, and then college students who are members of Active Minds. That's a on-campus chapter of a national organization that focuses on mental health and wellness. So I asked them specific prompts to their groups and then collated them into themes for analysis with the groups. I'll get into some of the results from those. So general college students were asked, what challenges have you experienced, and how does stress and anxiety affect your college experience? Here are the results from that. I have a little summary I'll just go over for all the results at the end. Active Minds students, these were the mental wellness organization students. They asked what strategies for supporting mental wellness and positive thinking are most effective for college students. I wanted to understand from them what they believe they've seen to be impactful, what they recommend themselves, and then also if you could offer advice to help every college student on campus, what would that be? Gaming students, I wanted to understand how do college students specifically around me interact with video games in relation to their schoolwork and in relation to their moods. So I asked, how does playing video games affect your mental wellness, make you feel? So then my results overall were to focus on time management, work-life balance, and managing overthinking. People suggested including features that promote mindfulness and motivation by including thought reframing, dopamine boosting activities. That's basically anything that makes you happy, like your favorite snack or, playing your favorite video game, for instance. Organization, exercise, and positive thinking. The gaming students recommended creating a calm, leisurely environment. They really noted that the game they're playing really depends on their mood. So if they're playing a high stress game, they'll feel stressed. It's unwinding. Obviously, they'll feel more relaxed afterwards. So the results all aligned with the literature really well, emphasizing personalized, positive, and mindfulness-focused support to foster control and achievement for students. So after this, I completed card sorting. Card sorting, if you're not familiar, it's basically having all of your options and then asking people to sort them either by groups or by a topic. I asked students to group them by most to least valuable and most to least engaging. From this, I wanted to kind of condense my list because I had a huge list of features that I knew would be a little overwhelming for anyone playing a game. So all students, the 87 participants, came from one of those 3 original groups. And here were the results. So this chart kind of shows the results on the left side, most valuable, most engaging, and then I combined those 2 to get an average to rank them and to most to least engaging and valuable combined between the 2. The grayed out ones are kind of the ones that were not as popular, and then the popular ones were guided meditation, activities to reframe your thoughts, to-do lists, long-term goal tracking, mindfulness games, and physical activity. So this was all kind of done in conjunction. It wasn't really one after another, but kind of all together. I had the state of VR. So from those features identified in the first 2 with the affinity mapping and as well as the literature review, I made a list of features and then as well as function. So a feature is basically something the game does, function kind of something the game promotes. Then I found a list of different VR mental wellness applications. This was from the App Store reviews, articles online, and just things I had found while I was doing my research. So then I made a little chart of apps that did have these features and apps that did not. And as you can see, there's a lot more red than there are of the check marks on there. Basically, none of the apps were tailored to college students, which is the goal of this one. They all had pretty much the basics, like breathing exercises, meditations, positive affirmations, but none really had any like function that was important to college students, like that to-do list, long-term goal tracking, little relaxing activities. This is kind of like a one-stop solution for all of these needs that's not currently being done. And then as well as the functions down here, the time management, physical activity, also not being done well currently. Well, not done well, just not done. So from all that, I began my design process. The first thing I did was did some task flows and user flows that I can share if anyone's interested in those. And then I went into some storyboarding. So I storyboarded those 5 main activities I decided on through the card sorting activity, to-do tracking, long-term goals, guided meditation, thought reframing, and mindfulness game. From these images, I tested them with my committee as well as some of the groups from the 3 original groups, and I found some areas that could be improved. So the feedback overall was to add more nature, kind of like play up on the fact that I am doing a VR game. I kind of was being a little too like flat digital with everything. Add more interaction, and then develop a story and overall flow for the game. I kind of just had, here's these features, but not why you should do these features, and that's how the Wellness Hub was born. That's basically the premise of my game. To design the game, I use Liminal VR. That's a really popular VR application. They have psych docs online. The whole point of their application really is to kind of promote different moods, whatever mood the player wants to feel. So I looked at their calm docs, and they have a bunch of like scientific backed things you should include in your game. Then I used Play AI to do all of my voice generation. I used Unity XR as well as the Unity Asset Store to get some different elements for the environment, as well as like little scripts and stuff to use. Dr. Fisher helped me a lot with getting scripts and everything I needed for the game. And then I used an API for my voice recognition as well that I plugged in. So we kind of talked about the Wellness Hub. What is it? It's basically you've been invited as a college student to participate in your own wellness journey. This is your space to, relax and wind, make it your own, have a safe space where you can take any time, it's free, all that good stuff, Granted, you have a device, that's one limitation. So then I can kind of go into the details of the features. I'll glance over this real quick and then we'll get into the demo. So the encouraging voice to-do list, this is using voice recognition because my committee pointed out that it's not going to be very easy to type, write, any of that. So we need something that really plays up on that VR. And then I also did some research, and saying your tasks out loud or saying your goals out loud actually makes them stick in your head better, and you have better like recall further down the road when you do that versus writing them down. Same with long-term goal tracking. You have a butterfly garden. You plant caterpillars that are your goals. These help you visualize your actual goal in a physical environment and see it grow as you grow yourself. And then the butterflies fly off into the distance and live forever, so you can always admire your progress. This is also using the voice recognition so that you can, again, say it out loud, visualize it better. Guided meditations, pretty basic, gives you all that information that I said in the beginning. There is an option indoor as well as an option at a waterfall that's basically the same breathing exercise. And then the Storm's Eye is a thought reframing game, which was unique to the State of VR because it's not currently on any VR games. You basically get your own little stormy environment. You assign topics to the clouds, clear them, and then you get positive affirmations for each one. Then these are just some mindfulness games, real simple. The one on the bottom is a coloring 3D world, so you get to step in and then color. And then this one's a very simple, just like sorting match 3 type of game. And then, Bubby, if you'll go ahead and Grant, if you'll go ahead and turn on the VR, we'll get into our demo. You might have to hold down for the button for a second. Here, I can do it. Thank you. There you go. Here, let me start the cast. It disconnected. Perfect. If you're comfortable there, you can just do the stationary mode. Hope it's got you all.
How do I get it over?
It should just like ask you to change your order.
Press the Oculus button.
You see the button?
There we go. Sorry, I'm not a pro.
We appreciate you. Yeah, and then just flip the switch to stationary. Okay, thank you everyone for your patience.
Take a deep breath. You've made it to your wellness hub, a place to unwind, declutter your mind, and embrace positivity. Step through the front door to begin your newest adventure.
So basically, this is the outside environment. You're invited into your little...
Hello, I'm Echo, your wellness companion. I'm here to guide and support you on this journey. I'll provide instructions in new rooms, share encouragement during games, and give helpful reminders. Here you'll find 5 unique rooms that feature calming activities to help you thrive. To clear your mind and stay organized, check in with me at the start of gameplay to add tasks to your in-game to-do list. Press A to get started. Welcome to your voice-activated to-do list. This is your space to organize and track your short-term tasks. To add a task, grab the microphone, then press start and begin speaking. Try it now.
Fold laundry.
You did an excellent job adding your first short-term task. Tracking tasks can help reduce academic stress and improve focus. Throughout your journey, I'll remind you to check in on your to-dos with encouraging messages. When you're done updating your tasks, pop the bubble to mark them as done and press B to exit. Tracking long-term goals is another great way to improve positivity. Step into the cave to begin. This is your vision vault. It's an environment that best suits you to track your long-term goals. Enter the enchanted butterfly garden, underwater oasis, or intergalactic planet to learn more. Welcome to the enchanted garden. This is where you can grow butterflies by accomplishing your goals. Enter the greenhouse to get started. Head to the table. Tracking long-term goals, like growing caterpillars, takes patience and care. Take a moment to think about your first goal and place a leaf in the bowl when you are ready to begin.
Basically getting your butterfly
Great.
ready to
Think of your first goal. When you are done, pick a caterpillar from the dirt and place it on the leaf. Grab the microphone when you are ready to say your goal out loud. Press start to begin recording.
Cook five healthy meals.
If your goal looks correct, press B to save it and add it to your caterpillar. Great job setting your first goal. Look at the shelf to your right to see your growing butterfly. I'll check in on your progress and remind you to feed your butterflies. Once your goal is complete, release your butterfly. It will remain in your garden where you can admire your progress. When you're ready, return through the cave portal.
And I decided on like 3 goals at a time because that's what research said. Basically, anywhere from 1 to 3 is a good amount of long-term goals to have at one time for college
You've done an
students.
excellent job tracking your short and long-term goals. With continued use, setting goals can lead to improved time management and increased self-efficacy. Now, head back through the cave entrance.
So once they've exited that cave the first time, it'll just only have your goal center that you picked instead of the other 2 options.
Now, let's wind down. In this room, you will find a calming activity to help you relax. Today, we will do a simple meditation involving focusing on your breath. This can improve mindfulness and concentration and even enhance brain connectivity. Grab the yoga mat to begin. Great. Now, head to the yoga mat and get comfortable, whether that is sitting or standing in a comfortable position. When you are comfortable, select the green button to start.
This part's kind of like instruction heavy, but it's really only like the first playthrough, and after every. Take a deep breath, everyone. So this goes with like research-based like breathing times, the 3-4-3 method.
I hope you are feeling more
And then you
relaxed.
can exit whenever you're ready.
Session. Whenever you want to refocus or feel calm, return to this area to start another meditation. Now, let's get positive in altitude and mindset. Head to the elevator when you are ready, and we will visit the Storm's Eye. You're doing such a great job learning about your wellness hub. Press the button and enter the elevator when you are ready to start the thought reframing activity. You're soaring 7,000 feet up to Storm's Eye. Here you'll practice reframing thoughts and hear positive affirmations. These are powerful tools that can build gratitude and improve self-esteem. Welcome to Storm's Eye. Start by assigning the topics above to storm clouds. Match each topic to a cloud, with larger clouds representing greater stress.
You basically will drag, so say you're stressed about work the most, you'd put that on a larger one. If there's something you're not really worried about right now, you could just leave it plain. And then this kind of, when you're like doing the stand-up mode, ties in that physical activity with punching the clouds. Get your heart rate up a bit.
My efforts create meaningful
So then with
results.
3 punches, you get a positive affirmation that kind of directly relates to
endless possibilities.
the topic.
I value
I don't know why.
strength. I am capable of finding solutions. I am capable of achieving my academic goals. Nice work. Bring these positive thoughts.
So now you've cleared the sky, and it's a clear sky instead of the stormy cloud.
Calm after the storm. Step back into the elevator to head back to your wellness hub when you are ready. Are you ready to experience the last zone in your wellness hub? Head through the arch to the library to get started. Welcome to the Calm Corner. Here you can solve a puzzle on the bookshelf or explore 3D coloring on the desk. This room has simple, relaxing activities to help you refocus and decompress. Let's try the coloring world. Grab the coloring book to be transported into the coloring book. You made it inside the coloring book. This game is simple. Select each item you would like to color. To return to your wellness hub, step onto the exit platform.
Just gives you some nice little feedback, and then you could color the whole world. It's already like preset colors, so you don't have to do any thought. Just very simple interaction.
Now let's try the sorting activity. Grab the puzzle box to begin. Welcome to the sorting shelf. Simply drag items to make groups of 3 and clear the shelf. When you want to return to your wellness hub, press exit.
So in the full game, you could, drag everything, clear everything, and then press next to do different levels, hopefully in different environments.
You've completed the first steps in your wellness journey. I'm excited you're here and look forward to the positive impacts we will share.
And basically, that's it. So after this, you could keep playing. You could explore more, whatever you felt more important to you. And every time you come back, you'll kind of be asked to do the tracking as well as. Oh, sorry, that cleared my whole thing. One moment. Thank you, Grant. That was great. Okay, so now we can talk about the testing. I tested the game with 3 novice users from my original groups. We did a cognitive walkthrough. This was a little different than a normal cognitive walkthrough. I wanted to see like exactly what the instructions told them to do. So I didn't really provide any additional information, just kind of play the game, ask questions, share your comments, concerns. And then I did some Likert skill statements, basically what value do you see in this game? How much do you enjoy the game? How much would you play it in an academic setting versus a non-academic setting? And then I had one open-ended question, which is basically what other recommendations do you have for me? Overall, the results I had were there was some jarring screen transitions. Example, a black screen when you're entering a new environment for that quick load, or just sometimes the teleport was a little off. That will be fixed in a future iteration. Then there were glitches in instructional audio due to the AI voice generation a couple of times. We thankfully didn't run into too many of those today. And then there was a desire for more customization options for the home environment. So basically they said, like, I wish I could make this more fit to like my personality, my design style. I would love to be able to do that maybe one day. And then there's a little confusion with the to-do list interface with the microphone and the buttons not locking into their correct spots. And then last, there was an issue with the elevator trigger a couple times, but that's since been solved, thankfully. Overall, people thought the game was calming and simple. And then, like I mentioned, issues will be addressed in the future. So then, contributions to virtual reality. I believe I created a personalized and immersive wellness positivity support. So it's a little different than your usual mental health application. This is for anyone, everybody, just kind of to build positivity. And then it's also not for anybody, for everybody, for college students specifically. It's supposed to be engaging and interacting, like I said, with that uptick in mental health interest for college students specifically. And then it's a tailored, usable academic support. It has those academic features like to-do tracking, long-term goal tracking. And, you know, if you aren't even feeling academic at the moment, that's why there's those other categories as well, because everyone knows we have so much to balance in our work life. And then also having that speech recognition integration was a new feature to this specific kind of sector. So these are my future iterations / kind of my limitations. There could definitely be some aesthetic improvements with like motion graphics, added sound, added lighting, all of that to just make it more immersive without the breaks from like, you know, being in that virtual reality state that sometimes the glitches give you. Further data development. So for instance, if Echo maybe could get some like AI or something integrated that would notice when you have a lot of tasks in one area and then maybe give you specific tips tailored to that area. And then also longitudinal testing. Obviously, I could do like usability testing, user experience, but I couldn't really do what are the effects of this app if they were to be implemented at a grand scale. So that would look like doing a test maybe with college students freshman year through senior year, seeing how they have been impacted by this versus a control group. And that would obviously be once the game was fully fleshed out and developed well. And then expanded usability testing, I think making that first round of changes and then doing more cognitive walkthroughs and Likert skill testing with different groups and also that original group to see what changes could be further made once the glaring issues were out of the way, I think would be really helpful. So what questions do you guys have?
Very good.
Thank you guys.
So I will open up to my colleagues first. Tom, would you like to start?
Yeah, so very impressive.
Thank
I
you.
really like those games and VR and how you use VR and how you consider different people needs, like not only just the writing work, the tactical work, but also use the voice recognition, which is really impressive. So so maybe we can start from the beginning. And then we can talk about the design part. But first of all, so when you do the user research, not user research, but user review, you did a very good job, like trying to figure out what are most effective strategies to help them, right? I think mainly our training.
Mhm.
And also, and then later on when you do the research, ask them to sort of do the affinity mapping and ask them to sort those features. It seems like the guided medication becomes the first one.
Yeah.
Did you got the chance to talk to them and why they sort that as a first or rank that as a first one?
Yeah, I think I ran into a bit of a problem with the card sorting in that some elements were a lot more familiar to users than others. So a lot of people have heard of guided meditation versus the others. So maybe they rank that higher. It's something I talked with a few people about, but I'd have to press further to know the exact answer.
Yeah, I'm curious because it
Yeah.
might be contributed to the literature. You may write an article talking about that and how users prefer that
Yeah.
over some others. So.
Let me piggyback really quick. Did you define each one for them, or did you just tell them the title?
I did in a presentation beforehand.
Gotcha. So they at least had some context.
They did a little bit, yeah.
Good.
Congratulations on a successful live demo.
Thank you.
A round of applause.
Thank
That was pretty cool.
Good job, Bubby.
Well done. I have a bit of question about your thinking and your process. So in your literature review, you grab scholarship that talks about learning outcomes, and you also grab scholarship that deals with emotional outcomes of VR. How did you kind of combine the mechanisms for those outcomes or think through those, understanding that while we learn to learn, we also in this experience are hoping to get something emotional?
Yeah. I was hoping, I guess, for an increased learning about your own emotions and learning about that positive psychology idea as a whole. I think is really important for a lot of students. To go back to why I decided to pick those certain elements, that was what was mainly available in the literature. They had a lot more extensive testing. It was a little hard trying to balance talking about anxiety and depression versus just mental wellness as a whole, because a lot of the literature ran over each other when they could, I thought. Yeah.
So it's more like the literature on the learning outcomes helped you kind of talk about the self-efficacy. I can understand my emotions.
Definitely. Okay. And the self-esteem as well, I would say. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I think another question I have is you design very cool activities using VR. A lot of people who suffer from mental illness, they can experience that with the VR device. And for those of users who may not have access to the VR, are there any other possibilities for them to experience what you design? Or have you ever thought about this?
Yeah, that is a challenge. I was hoping kind of if this were to actually be fully fleshed out, it would be university provided VR headsets for a certain cohort of students or something like that. However, if that weren't to be the way to go, the game is easily changed to just desktop or anything else really. So people could access it that way as well. I think the immersive qualities might not be as strong, but it'd still be better than nothing, I think.
So there have been a few studies about how tools like ones that you created reduce friction, right, and help us to really sort of get in touch with our emotions, understand them better. We feel embodied, cause calm, encourage calm. But sometimes they have challenge in building resilience for individuals. Did you consider that when you were building this out, whether this was something that was going to help build resilience in maintaining a sense of calm when we're outside of the experience? Or is it really kind of I heard somebody use this term at a conference when they drove me insane, VR-suitable, like pharmaceutical agent.
Honestly, I was hoping with the things like that speech recognition, like speaking your goals out loud and speaking your just current tasks out loud, that's been proven to follow you into other stages of life. So I'm hoping that not only knowing your goals at the front of your mind would help you be more engaged probably outside of the game as well, but then also just that essence of building yourself up and thinking when the going gets tough, here's what I can tell myself, from the examples given in the game, hopefully. But I could see how potentially it could be, better in the moment than it is afterwards.
Always could be part of a larger regimen.
That's exactly the hope, is that it would kind of fill in a space of journaling or something like that. It could be a new activity for those kind of activities.
I want to piggyback off of Josh's question, because this is where I thought you were going with the question in the very beginning. So going back to his initial statement about the research showing that these kinds of experiences can reduce friction and sort of foster a sense of calm.
Mhm.
Did you also run across any antithetical research that said actually virtual experiences can increase a sense of anxiety or stress?
Yeah.
And I ask that from my own personal experience with VR, is that VR actually, I have the whole like, I get the nausea
So
and
do
I get the sort of like feeling off inside of a virtual. Now I will say that for me, if I stick with it a little bit longer, there's an acclimation that happens and it actually subsides a little bit. But I wonder if, like, if I'm specifically coming here, actually not necessarily to have fun or play a game, I'm actually coming here for this distinct purpose of mental wellness and mental health. And then I put the VR headset on and immediately met with nausea or a feeling of like, equilibrium being off, if that could be a problem. So I'm curious about any literature you may have come across that like explains the opposite effect.
I did read some literature. There is a huge learning curve with virtual reality, just for specifically people who have never really worked with it before. I also get VR sickness. I think that aside from that VR sickness, because it's just kind of really unfortunate, but kind of making that tutorial really drawn out and kind of very explanatory was kind of my way of trying to alleviate some of that stress and overwhelm from just the intake of so much new information, but also in such an immersive setting. It can kind of feel exactly like you say, very overwhelming, very stressful. So I was hoping by taking it really slow at the beginning that would hopefully alleviate a little bit of that.
I have some quick questions. Do you use any points in the game?
No.
There are no points.
I do. I went for like intrinsic motivation, which is when you're getting those benefits being shared with you from the Echo Voice Assistant.
Love the Echo Voice Assistant. I noticed it gave a lot of verbal direction.
Yes.
Were there visual directions we might have missed that it provided?
There should be.
So maybe that could be something to add to
Yes.
your work, because I do think that's a really good point. Obviously, verbal directions are most explicit, so there's value to that, but also, when possible, to increase the amount of visual affordances that tip me off as to what to do, so I don't have to sit there listening to this lady tell me what to do.
Right.
So finding the balance there, and I think you have time, right? So before this is actually due to the grad school, we might even consider adding a paragraph or two that not just says, hey, in the future I could add some visual instructions, but actually outline what some of those might be,
Okay.
or how they might appear, or how they might manifest, even though we're not building them in right now. I think you could be more explicit about the ways in which you would implement them in the future.
Definitely.
Yeah. So one thing I think, in regards to design, like when you do the storm eye, there's storm there, right? That's background. It's like not storm, it's like a gray color
Yeah.
cow, which so could you tell me the rationale behind it?
So I kind of wanted like a chaotic kind of to represent that overwhelm in your mind through the brighter colors. There's not really any use of that orange darky color anywhere else in the game. And then like the ominous dark storm clouds, everything else is kind of light and airy. And then whenever you clear the storm clouds, there's nothing in your vision. If we would have, maybe gone a little slower, you'd see like the horizon, just nothing but like a pretty open sky. I did try to do like a complete sunshine, and it was very overwhelming. Like it was like a huge bright light on your face, basically. Yeah, so I tried to do like a little bit more of a subtle, but I can see how maybe doing like just a clear sky with no clouds and no sun either would probably be the best solution. Yeah.
Not sunlight, but brighter.
Yeah.
Because I want to see the change.
I thought the same thing.
The self-esteem, right? How we can raise their confidence. And, after they punch all those things they hate, and the clouds go away, and then something like that.
It still felt a little gray.
Little gloom still.
A little bit like a gloomy.
It felt like coming to life in February.
You're like almost there, but not quite.
Still not great.
Yeah. I think it's
I have some really quick questions. I'm curious, and I should have asked you this before. When you were doing your research and you talked about how, I can't remember the exact percentages, but like the percentage of students who said they needed mental health support versus like the 36% or whatever that actually went Was sort of a lack of trust for the process of counseling one of the reasonings?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a very small story to share. So my son, who has some anxiety issues, went to the health center last semester for counseling, and there were two therapists in the room, and one of them fell asleep.
Oh my goodness.
And I said after the fact, if any of you come to my office after I sent you to the health center and told me someone fell asleep, I would be calling the counseling center, reading them the riot act, but because it's my son, I just, I can't and I won't. But yeah, I was kind of appalled by that. But anyway, that's kind of a side point. When you talked about, something struck me earlier, when you were talking about when you did some of your testing and you asked about it being implemented in a university class. What do you mean by that? Can you explain that more?
Yeah. So kind of like freshmen have like a little freshman seminar. I think I at least did through the honors college specifically. We had like a 1 credit class we had to take. It was kind of nothing. So I think maybe implementing something that could set you up a little bit better would be a perfect place to put that in.
So like that, is it called first year experience or
Freshman seminar, I think it was. Yeah.
So the same thing as you did.
A little bit, but
What do
yeah.
you think the best of all the mental health apps that you looked at? What do you think the best one was?
I like.
From yours?
It was called Calm.
Calm.
Yeah, it was kind of, you could sort of like Liminal, how you could pick an experience, but it was more like design your dream meditation kind of.
I have one last one.
Yeah.
When you were doing your research and you were looking at the personas, were there some of the activities that you provided that really aligned with like a particular persona group versus another?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I found that women more liked the mindfulness games like coloring, sorting, and men were like, I'm not wasting my time with this. That was just what I experienced directly. Like almost every guy was like, I hate this, and every girl was like, I love this. Right up my alley. I think that probably ties into larger statistics, but I don't have those with me.
I'm going to end us with one question, and then we can open it up with a couple questions from the audience. What did you learn from this experience?
Ooh.
Broadly speaking.
I learned a lot. How much it has to go into just thinking through every single decision you make, and then as well, I hate Unity. I love Unity. We have a really interesting relationship.
Everybody has that.
Yes.
Unity, right?
And every single time I get to work with it, I expand my technology skills in all aspects of tech, not just, Unity, which isn't very used often. I, to be honest, was very like low tech literacy coming into this program because I was a communications marketing undergrad. So the most we ever used was like Canva. And so it's been really fun for me to learn how to, just plug different things in and all those things I wouldn't have known otherwise.
I would like to say, I think everyone in the room will agree with me, for someone to call themselves low tech coming into the program and walk out of the program with a creative project of this degree of technical design requirement, I'm pretty impressed.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
The program's not that long, 2 years, in and out, right? So to come into the program saying I felt you were low tech and come out with this, wow.
Thank you. I remember one time Dr. Fisher had to tell me how to download a file. So that's how low tech literacy I was.
Well, you've come a long way.
Yes, I have.
A couple questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah.
Raphael, from Student Access.
Hello.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but as I watched this, I was so happy and I was thinking about the prospects that this could have in terms of students who come in for sessions at the Student Success Center. And I'm wondering, is it possible for a student to say, for example, upload an ebook into the library section so that they could go there and maybe as they are setting goals for work and other things, they can set reading goals?
Wow, that would definitely be possible. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's an amazing idea.
This is a really good idea.
Really
actually,
good, yeah.
To push the boundaries of this experience, to say how much should A and can B, we bring the actual work, the tasks, into the environment. So I would even go a step further, like bring the ebook into the environment and read the ebook in the environment, or have an audio listening in the, like, should we? I don't know. Can we? I don't know, right? So I think that might be an interesting also notation for future work is sort of exploring just how much we can bring from the real world, we can bring into the virtual world, so they can accomplish their tasks and track the progress toward those tasks all in the same space.
I think that would also increase the VR pseutical, not happening as much. If you could bring in more to it, then more bridges, I guess, from like your current life to
Yes.
the virtual reality life. What other questions?
One more question?
Anyone else?
Yes.
So, from an outsider's perspective, you talk about the research and that you held like a presentation. I'm curious as to like how you got those people to come in, and especially for like the mental health side of it. It's important to get people that are, on the, I don't want to say the bad side of it, but people that are heavily affected by it. And I think the last thing that they would want to do is go to a presentation. So I'm wondering if
Understandable.
there is a better way out there to maybe do it, or if there's just any other options to get that information.
Yeah, definitely. I think with having that literature review, I was able to get some like concrete data on kind of the harder topics, like the more difficult things that people don't like to discuss. I did take pretty strong considerations when inviting people. I gave them like a little briefing on the content, asked them if they were comfortable sharing, because with affinity mapping, I didn't mention this, it's